and welcome to another episode of a Youthful Take on Transportation, powered by the Truck Focus Podcast.
The Youthful Take on Transportation is a series where Avery, my son, who happens to be a youth, is going to interview different professionals working within the transportation industry to really highlight the different careers and opportunities in transportation that a lot of the people just generally don't see.
And we always need to remember, if you got it, a truck brought it. And that without professional drivers operating safely on our roadways, the comforts we as people have come to expect, simply put, would stop. In this series, I am excited to interview different over-the-road legends that are making a difference in our industry as professional drivers and ask them specific questions about their journey while on the road. You will see me interview different professional drivers for the first edition, and then I look forward to recording an episode with a couple other professional drivers in the very near future. Well, let's get to it. Good day, Roy, and welcome to the series, A Youthful Take on Transportation. I am super excited to have the opportunity to interview you today.
Thanks. It's great to be here.
And before we get started, I want to say how much I appreciate what you do as you operate as a professional driver over the road. My dad speaks highly of you, so it's nice to finally officially meet you.
Oh, thank you.
So my first question today, how do you decide what area to stop while you are operating on the road to rest?
Well, I normally have like a set route that I go. So I know when I leave Calgary, like I'm going to Vancouver, and depending on road conditions and accidents, construction, whatnot, like I can usually get there in 12 hours. So I know I can plan to kind of leave Calgary and then sleep when I get to Vancouver.
Oh, nice. So you always have a designated route when you plan to leave?
Yes, yeah. And like sometimes I'll be going, let's say, from Vancouver to Winnipeg, and you can't do that trip in 13 hours. It's too far. So you'd obviously, look at the map and find roughly where you're going to be when you run out of hours, and try to find somewhere around there that you can, park, pull over, sleep. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. And for the second question, when you need fuel, can you explain the entire process from deciding which fuel station you want to go to and what is required while on the fuel station's property?
Well, with my company, we have they have the Husky Esso cards, so I know I'm always filling up at a Husky or an Esso or mobile oil. So I usually have that set out too. I'll kind of look on the map and see, I'll know roughly what kind of kilometers I'll get before I need to fill up again. So kind of plan that out, find out where I plan to get fuel. And then you just kind of, it's very similar to a car. You just kind of pull in, get your gas, kind of maybe clean your windows and that, and be on your way. Or if you're gonna pull in and park there for the night, then you pull in, find somewhere safe out of the way to park, and call her a night.
It's awesome. And my next question is, I know that only so much weight is allowed in a trailer, so you do not need to go overweight when you're driving on the road. What do you need to do to make sure you are not overweight? Do you use a scale?
Yeah. Our company's pretty good. We have scales in all of our yards. We also have an account with the cat scales. So you just, when you get your load, we always scale our load before we leave the yard to make sure we're legal for the road. And then if you have to adjust your trailer wheels or slide your tandems or whatnot, that's when we do that at the shop. And then there's always guys at the shop too who can help with that, because sometimes your tandem wheels on your trailers don't slide as they're supposed to, or so it's always good to have someone around to help with that. So yeah, I like to do that at the shop.
Mm-mm. So when you're driving over the road, what type of supplies do you bring with you to make sure you do not go hungry or thirsty? Do you bring these supplies from home, or you stop at truck stops and get food there?
Yeah, that's a good question. I try to bring everything with me from home. just because the truck stops are quite expensive. I mean, even just for like a roll of paper towel, you're pretty much paying 3 times more at a truck stop than you would a grocery store or something like that. But yeah, for everything from cleaning supplies, like I'll bring stuff to keep the truck clean and you know, tidy. And food, I always make sure I have lots of food. I bring cans of soup, and that just because it doesn't go bad, it can stay in the truck, and it doesn't matter if it gets hot or cold or whatever.
Yeah.
And then I have a fridge in the truck as well, so I'll bring some sandwiches or maybe some stuff, just like leftover food that I'm gonna put in the freezer and heat up. I have a microwave as well, so I can heat up the food when I want to.
Yeah, that's awesome. And finally, when traveling with traffic on the roadway, how important is it to drive safely to make sure that no incidents or accidents happen?
Yeah, that's the whole name of the game right there is safety. You have to be very aware of all the other cars, motorcycles, pedestrians, bicycles. There's lots to be aware of on the road, and it's a big, heavy truck that, I mean, you can't really just stop. So you always have to make sure you're in control and being safe and just aware of everything around you, your complete surroundings. Yeah.
Yeah. And one of the most important questions of today, what do you like most about being a professional driver?
No, I really like the freedom of it. I like to be on the road. I like to, I mean, I'm not an antisocial person, but I do like to be on my own. I like to kind of make my own decisions as to where I'm going to stop, or if I want to stop for a coffee, like I don't have to wait for a coffee break. I can just, you know, if I find somewhere safe, I'll pull over and get a coffee. And like I go all through the mountains and I see some really beautiful sights, and I really do enjoy it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think that really highlights what your favorite part of being a driver is. And do you have any last or final thoughts for today?
I'm sure I'll think of some when we're done, but for right now, that's probably enough.
Roy, thank you so much for letting me interview today. This was just an awesome experience to get to know you and to be able to ask you these questions and to interview you today.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, and for any young people who are kind of thinking about trucking or getting into trucking or just curious on trucking, like it's a really cool industry, and there's a lot of fun to be had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Avery, how was it interviewing over the road legend Roy?
Oh man, it was awesome. He had lots of good information on the questions that I asked for him.
That's awesome. Yeah, Roy's a really good guy. Roy, thank you so much for hopping on and just taking time again away from your family to help educate youth in our industry. That's what a youthful take on transportation is all about. And yeah, it just means a lot as well. If you're listening to this, check out episode 21 on the podcast, where Roy did join, and it was just myself and him having a good conversation. So you can learn a little bit more about Roy and just the impact he's having in the industry. Just super stand-up guy, and yeah, really appreciate your time, Roy. Thank you so much. So, and then Avery, yeah, you did. It's cool watching you just get the information and understand, okay, that's what that means. Okay, I understand that. So that way you also are in a position that you can teach others. So that's super powerful. So can you kind of highlight a couple things that you learned in your conversation with Roy?
So one of the things that Roy said in our conversation is he was talking about safety, and safety is number one.
That's right. Yeah.
So sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to ask you what you're about to say. So it's good.
Oh, so as a professional driver, you always want to make sure that you and other professional drivers, other passenger vehicles around you when you're on the road to be safe. You always want to make sure that no accidents happen or any incidents and no one gets hurt. And as passenger vehicles, you always want to be aware of big professional drivers driving trucks and make sure that you're not cutting them off, you're not in their way, and you always want to be courteous, and you always want to be aware of your surroundings.
Absolutely. So from a professional driver standpoint, that's crucial. Is you're sometimes 10 times heavier, depending on what you're hauling and the amount of weight you have behind you, than a normal passenger vehicle. So being very mindful. So your head's always on a swivel, always paying attention just to what is general traffic doing, but also for general traffic. So passenger traffic, that you're going through the mountains on holidays, or if you're driving to your daily commute to work, make sure that you're giving professional drivers lots of room. They do need more time to stop. So they just, again, if they're 100,000 pounds and maybe you're 6,000 pounds, you can kind of paint that picture for yourself. How long does it take you to quickly stop? It takes a lot longer for professional drivers to stop. So making sure that they can operate in a safe place is super important, because they are very essential. So yeah, Avery, that's a really good point.
And another thing Roy was talking about in our conversation is that professional drivers have lots of freedom if they need to make stops while driving on the road. Like he was talking about how if he wants a coffee, then he can stop at like a Tim Hortons, not a drive-thru, sorry. He'd go inside of a Tim Hortons and would grab a coffee. And yeah, I think it's just when professional drivers have lots of freedom, it's more enjoyable for them.
Yeah.
Because they just, freedom is, it's everything. It's like, because a lot of, when you do a job, you want to enjoy your job. And when professional drivers have freedom, they're enjoying their jobs, and they're also helping other people like you and I.
That's right. Yeah, freedom is super important. And I think that's one of the most attractive features of being a professional driver, is knowing, so there's times absolutely where things are maybe in a rush. So how it works when you're delivering to a customer, doesn't matter if it's long haul, short haul, regional, nothing like that. The concept's pretty similar, where a customer orders something. So a customer could be a direct customer where you and I order something off Amazon. If it's a customer where it's a warehouse where they're going to store products that then get delivered to somewhere else, that's possible too. But every delivery has a delivery time and an appointment window. So they have to get somewhere by a certain amount of time. And knowing that, as Roy mentioned in the episode, you do have the freedom to stop somewhere along the way. You don't have to wait for a quote unquote coffee break, which I think is a really attractive feature for professional drivers, is having that freedom where you can be on your Bluetooth having a good conversation with the wife and kids, and then you can pull up and grab a coffee and you can check your logbook. You're like, okay, yeah, things are good. I still have enough hours to get there with plenty to spare. That's a really good feeling, instead of always feeling behind the clock, or you have to wait to, yeah, I can't go for a coffee yet, but I'm tired, I want to drink, that kind of thing. So yeah, that's a really important feature.
Yeah. And one of the last things that Roy was talking about in our conversation is how professional drivers get to see a lot of amazing scenery. And what I mean by that is, for example, the BC mountains. It's not every day you get to drive up to the mountains and just take the moment, just live the moment, embrace it, and just be able to just relax, decompress your mind, and just watch the amazing scenery.
Yeah, it's very true. And again, professional drivers do have it's a challenge traveling through the mountains for sure, but it's also breathtaking. Just the views, and Avery and I and our family, we've been to BC a handful of times, because I'm from BC, but we enjoy going back to the Okanagan and to Vancouver to visit family. And it's just, some of those views don't get old. And I've driven through there hundreds of times, and you're like, wow, look at that. Oh, I don't remember that, because the sun can hit it differently with a certain amount of snow. You never seen that before. Or if it's a different type of shade or rainbows. Remember the time we saw the 2 rainbows or 3 rainbows?
Oh yeah, that was awesome.
And yeah, so professional drivers, if they're in that environment, it's pretty amazing, but also from an infrastructure standpoint. So remember when I used to travel for work and we would talk about cranes and all that? Yeah, so one of my perspectives from being a former driver was seeing how different cities are set up, and just different professionals, again, they get to admire just the architect and massive overhead cranes downtown Vancouver, to, again, different prairie lands through the prairies, Saskatchewan, Manitoba. Yeah, there's a lot of really just valuable scenery in Canada, especially where you're like, wow, I didn't know that was here. But it's definitely a highlight for professional drivers. So good job. Good observation, buddy.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, that's awesome. So as you continue to learn more about the transportation industry from legends working in this space, do you feel other teens, youth, and kids, they need to know about this stuff?
Yes, definitely. I definitely think they should be able to learn this, because I remember, because now that I think about it, I wouldn't have known any of this when I was 5 years old. I wouldn't have known that professional drivers has such a big job when I was that young. But now that I put the time and the effort into learning it, now I know the reason and why it's so important to our industry.
Yeah.
And I think that when youths learn it, youths like myself can do opportunities like what I'm doing right now, and just teaching other youths and even some adults about the transportation industry.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think it's super empowering. It's impactful, and it's nice that you wear the badge of leadership with honor, because there's a lot of people that don't understand all of the little transactions that happen so professional drivers can have a successful career. And a lot of people don't value it because they just don't know. They think most of the time you're just in my way, when really they're the light, they're the veins to this big organization called a nation. And they're filling the veins with products that we need. And they're just powerful people, really good people, and it's really inspiring career. And yeah, so it's nice to hear your perspectives, because I could sit here and talk all day long, but when I hear it from you, I'm like, okay, that's really cool, because you see the value in people, you see the value in, if those positions stop, how detrimental that would be. And yeah, so that's a nice observation. I appreciate it. So
Yeah.
as you continue to advocate for transportation, what do you most want to be remembered for? From if this is the first time they're listening to you, what's something that you really want to be remembered for?
Something I really want to be remembered for is just saying how no matter your age, you can make a positive impact in not just the industry, but in anyone's lives. Just a simple hi and hello can just make someone feel happy and just lighten the mood.
Totally. Yeah, that was powerful, buddy. That's awesome. And what's one of your most famous quotes that you'd like to share as we come to a close?
If you got it, a truck brought it.
That's right. So 1000% truth. So thanks, Avery. You did a phenomenal job once again. This is a youthful take on transportation. It is powered by the Truck Focus podcast. And the entire mission is honestly to encourage and empower youth, teens, kids, families, just about what is transportation, what other opportunities are in the industry, as well as the type of professionals that are operating within. So that way, maybe it's a career choice for yourself, or maybe it's just helping change the image of our industry, because there's some phenomenal people just like Roy out there that are having a really good impact, that are doing it right, that are family men. And yeah, it's a good highlight. So thank you again, everyone, for all of the support. If you are listening to this on YouTube, we do ask you hit the subscribe button. If you're listening to this on any major podcast platform that we're on, same thing, please subscribe. And yeah, obviously the likes and the shares on social are super nice, and they do really help, because the greater the impact, the greater the following, or I guess the greater the following, the greater the impact. And yeah, we're just on a mission to really serve our industry. And thank you again, Avery. Just you continue to step up as a young leader, and it's really awesome. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay. See you, everyone. Have a wonderful day.
Bye.